My name is Lucas Bennett. I'm 46 years old, red-haired, and I've spent most of my life in blue and white plaid shirts, jeans, and work boots on my family's farm in rural Virginia. I'm a simple man. I believe in hard work, honesty, and that dogs are better judges of character than most people. 3 weeks ago, my brown Labrador Copper started doing something strange. Every morning, without fail, he'd disappear for about an hour. When he came back, his paws were muddy, and he carried wildflowers in his mouth. Dandelions, daisies, whatever he could find. I thought it was just dog behavior. Maybe he was playing. Maybe he was bored. Then one morning I followed him. Copper walked through the fields, past the old barn, into the woods at the edge of my property. I stayed back, quiet, watching. He walked for almost 20 minutes until he reached a place I hadn't been to in years. The old cemetery. It's a small family graveyard, forgotten by most. My great-great-grandparents are buried there. A few other relatives from the 1800s. The headstones are cracked, covered in moss, names barely readable. Copper stopped at one grave. He dropped the flowers gently on the stone. Then he sat, just sat there, quiet, still, as if keeping watch. I stepped closer. The name on the headstone stopped me cold. Sarah Bennett, 1889 to 1910, beloved daughter. I knew that name, but I didn't know why my dog knew it. If stories about the mysteries dogs uncover, the secrets buried in time, and the bond between past and present move you, then hit that like button and subscribe to Paws of History. Because sometimes the most incredible stories aren't told by people. They're told by the animals who never forgot. Let me give you some context. My family has owned this land for over 150 years. The Bennett farm, passed down generation to generation. My great-great-grandfather, William Bennett, bought it in 1875. He raised cattle, grew tobacco, built a life here. William had 2 children, a son, James, and a daughter, Sarah. I knew this from family records, old Bibles with names written in faded ink, birth certificates stored in attic boxes. But I never knew much about Sarah. She was just a name, a date, a girl who died young. When I was a kid, my grandmother mentioned her once. Sad story, she said. The girl who loved dogs. That was all. She never elaborated, and I never asked. Now, standing in front of Sarah's grave, watching my dog sit vigil, I realized I needed to know more. I went home and searched. I dug through old family documents in the attic, dusty boxes filled with letters, photos, newspaper clippings, and I found her story. Sarah Bennett was born in 1889, the youngest child. By all accounts, she was gentle, kind, and had a deep love for animals, especially dogs. In 1905, when she was 16, she found a stray dog, a brown mixed breed, half-starved, injured. She nursed him back to health, named him Rusty. He became her constant companion. The family photos I found showed her, a young girl with dark hair, a soft smile, and always with Rusty by her side. But in 1910, something happened. Scarlet fever swept through the county. Sarah fell ill. In those days, there was no cure, no antibiotics. You either survived or you didn't. Sarah didn't. She died on April 12, 1910, 21 years old. The letters I found, written by her mother, were heartbreaking. Sarah asked for Rusty until the very end. He wouldn't leave her bedside. When she passed, he howled for 3 days straight. And then, something that made my heart stop. A diary entry, written by Sarah's brother James, my great-grandfather. Rusty visits Sarah's grave every day. He brings wildflowers, just like Sarah used to pick. He sits there for hours. Won't eat. Won't leave. Father says he's mourning. I think he's waiting for her to come back. Rusty died 6 months later. They buried him next to Sarah. I stood in my attic, holding that diary, and I understood. Copper wasn't just visiting a grave. He was continuing something that started over a century ago. But how? How did he know? I decided to dig deeper. Literally. Not into the grave, of course, but into the history. I contacted the local historical society. I spoke to elderly neighbors who remembered old family stories. And I learned something I never expected. There's a legend in our area, a story passed down through generations, about the ghost dog of the Bennett farm. People claimed they saw a brown dog in the woods, carrying flowers, always near the old cemetery, always at dawn. I'd heard the story as a kid, dismissed it as folklore, ghost stories to scare children. But now I wasn't so sure. One morning, I followed Copper again. This time I brought my camera. I wanted to document this, to understand. Copper did his routine, picked flowers, walked to the grave, laid them down. But this time, something different happened. As he sat by Sarah's grave, another dog appeared. From the woods, a brown mixed breed, thin, almost translucent in the early morning light. I froze. The dog walked to Sarah's grave, sat next to Copper. The two dogs sat together, side by side, as if they'd done this 1,000 times before. I raised my camera, took a photo. The flash startled them. The strange dog turned, looked directly at me with sad, knowing eyes, and then vanished. Not ran away, vanished. Like mist. Copper remained, unfazed, as if this was normal. I looked at my camera. The photo showed Copper sitting alone. The other dog wasn't there. My hands shook. I'm a practical man. I don't believe in ghosts. But I'd just seen one. I went home, my mind racing. I pulled out the old family photos again. And there, in a picture from 1909, was Rusty, Sarah's dog. The same dog I'd just seen. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Sarah, about Rusty, about loyalty that transcends death. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I went to Sarah's grave. Without Copper, just me. I knelt by the headstone, brushed away the leaves, read the inscription, "Beloved daughter, forever in our hearts." "I don't know if you can hear me," I said aloud, feeling foolish. "But I'm Lucas, your great-great-nephew. And I want you to know, you're not forgotten. You and Rusty." The wind picked up, soft, gentle, like a whisper. And then I saw him, Rusty, standing at the edge of the woods, watching me. We stared at each other, man and ghost dog, connected across time by a girl who loved animals. He didn't approach. He just stood there. And then slowly he wagged his tail. Once, twice, and disappeared. After that day, things changed. Copper still visited Sarah's grave. But now I went with him. Every morning, we walked together. I'd bring fresh flowers from my garden. Copper would bring his wildflowers. I cleaned up the cemetery, fixed the headstones, planted new grass. I even had a small bench installed, so I could sit while Copper kept watch. Word spread in the community. People started visiting, leaving flowers, reading the old names, reconnecting with history. One day, an elderly woman came. She was 92, she said. Her grandmother had been friends with Sarah. "My grandmother told me stories," she said, "about a girl who could talk to animals, who had a dog that loved her so much he refused to leave, even after death. Do you think the stories are true?" I asked. She smiled. "Does it matter? What matters is that someone remembers. That's all any of us want. To be remembered." She was right. I commissioned a new marker for Rusty's grave. It read, "Rusty, faithful companion to Sarah Bennett, loyalty beyond life." The day we placed it, Copper sat between the two graves, as if honoring them both. I never saw Ghost Rusty again. But sometimes, on quiet mornings, I feel a presence, a warmth, a sense that I'm not alone. Copper is 8 years old now. He's slowing down as dogs do. But he still makes that walk. Every single day, rain or shine, bringing flowers to Sarah. People ask me, how did Copper know? How did he find that grave? I don't have a scientific answer. Maybe dogs can sense things we can't. Maybe they're connected to the land, to the history soaked into the soil. Maybe Rusty, wherever he is, guided Copper, called to him, dog to dog, across the veil of time. I don't know. And honestly, I don't need to know. What I do know is this: love doesn't die. Loyalty doesn't fade. And sometimes, the most profound connections aren't between people. They're between souls, human and animal, past and present. Sarah Bennett died over a century ago, but because of a dog, her story lives on. Because of Copper, people remember her, visit her, honor her. And Rusty? He can finally rest, knowing that Sarah isn't alone, that she's loved, that her memory is cherished. I learned something from all this. We think time moves in one direction, past to present to future. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe time is a circle. Maybe the love we give, the bonds we forge, echo forward and backward, touching lives we'll never meet. Copper taught me that animals understand something we've forgotten, that every life matters, that every story is sacred, that loyalty, true loyalty, is eternal. Sarah spent 21 years on this earth. Not long, but her love for a dog created a legacy that lasted over 100 years. That's not tragedy, that's immortality. When I die, I want to be buried in that cemetery, next to Sarah, next to Rusty, next to Copper when his time comes, because they taught me the most important lesson of all. We're not defined by how long we live. We're defined by how deeply we love. And love, real love, never ends. The farmer's dog kept bringing flowers to the same grave. And when I saw the name, I didn't just find a forgotten ancestor. I found a truth that changed my life. Some stories are never finished. They're just waiting for someone to listen. And sometimes, that someone has 4 legs and a heart bigger than the world. If this story touched your soul, if it reminded you that animals carry wisdom we've lost, then hit that like button and subscribe to Paws of History. Because every animal has a story, and some stories connect us across time itself. Thank you for listening, and thank Copper, because he's the one who reminded me, the past is never truly gone. It's just waiting to be remembered.
Paws of History, because every story leaves a paw print, and its memories stay with us forever.